PC エンジン512色スーパービジュアル6チャンネルリアルサウンドニューワールドを制覇する PC エンジン全開 NEC から。
Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Meso Technology Series PC Engine Playhouse, where I take a look at some of my favorite PC Engine games of all time, both on the HuCard and the CD-ROM side. And today we're playing Lords of Thunder, also known as Winds of Thunder in the Japanese region. Why am I playing Winds of Thunder? Because that's the disc I have in my collection, so I figured I would play that version. And when I say this shmup is absolutely brutally difficult, at least for my playstyle, I 100% mean it. I played this game a ton, and I continue to struggle with it to this day, even though I have fun. Before we get too far involved though, do me a huge favor down below, hit like and subscribe and ring that notification bell. Definitely helps us out. And if you feel so inclined and want to support the channel, we got a Patreon link down below as well. But this game is just an absolute blast to play, and I love the theming. It's like hard rock fantasy Lord of the Rings vibes going on here. You know those giant panel vans that have the airbrush Conan on the side fighting a dragon with a woman in a bikini next to him? This game is basically that airbrush panel van come to life. I don't mean that as a joke, that's actually what I think of when I think of a game like this, when it uses hard rock and fantasy setting at the same time. But the great part is, this is a super fun shmup, and it is going to test you difficulty-wise the entire way through. And it has some light role-playing game elements as well. You're able to increase your character's abilities, buy different upgrades in between worlds, and set yourself up for success or failure depending on how you do that. You'll see that pretty much every enemy lets off these crystals as you're playing the game, and you need to and want to collect every single one of them because they're going to become so crucially important in the later stages. Every crystal is worth a certain amount of money, and you can use that in the shop to buy yourself shields, upgrades, different weapons, and all sorts of other things that are going to make your life a lot easier. But this is just one of the best PC Engine shmups of all time, and I would say one of the best shmups of this era and generation. But tell me down below what your favorite shmup, horizontal-wise, would be from these years, because I always love hearing your guys' opinion as well. But I'm sure 9 out of 10 people would agree that this is definitely one of the best on the PC Engine. The bosses are huge, their patterns are awesome, there is nothing that this game does wrong whatsoever. I can't think of a single criticism outside of the fact that some of the sound effects are too loud versus the music, and it actually drowns out the insanely fun rock and heavy metal soundtrack you get underneath it. But just seeing the PC Engine move a sprite around screen that's this large while having a background is so much fun. A lot of times you would see the background go to black on PC Engine games when they throw a large sprite up, but Lords of Thunder maintains this giant sprite while still giving you a background. Sure, it is not moving, but it does still look huge, and it definitely sets a time and place as far as the vibes are concerned. Now that we're through that level, you're going to see we're able to get all of the different power-ups here. We have 950 gems, and those are going to allow us to purchase certain things that can make the later worlds a little bit easier if we play our cards right. As we move on to the second area in the game, and you do get to choose what area you start with and where you go, it's a completely different vibe going on. The graphics change, you get a lot of new enemies, each individual area almost feels like its own separate game. Sure, it's got the same mechanics, you're doing the same thing, but they did such a great job design-wise making each world feel visually distinct and unique so that you really don't feel like you're playing too much of the same game in a row. Because sometimes with shmups and the theming, by the time you're done with the end of the game, you feel like maybe you've inhabited that world a little bit too long, where Lords of Thunder doesn't do that whatsoever. Each stage is unique. I love these giant piranha plants coming up and shooting their spores out of the ground. It just works. You have those eagles in armor throwing axes at you. It sells the fantasy vibe hard here, and it just works 100% of the time. It doesn't matter what it's showing you, it always looks unique, and I do love this kind of fantasy vibe going on, or this gigantic crab down here who's going to come out with his pincers, and he has his 2 arms as well. They're going to shoot electricity up. You need to see what's safe on screen because there's definitely big chunks of the screen that you can be invulnerable in if you know the boss's attack pattern. So learning the patterns here is going to be crucial because you only get 3 credits to beat this entire game, or else you have to start back from the beginning, and trust me, your first couple playthroughs, it's just not going to happen. But the soundtrack is pure rock as well, so go ahead and listen for 45 seconds and I'll come back and tell you way more about the game. The soundtrack in this game is spectacular, especially with that Red Book audio coming off the CD, but unfortunately I do think the sound effects are too loud in spots and it can drown out a little bit of the music, and that's not really an uncommon complaint. A lot of games love to do that back in this area where they would just basically amp up the sound effects volume at the detriment of the music, and there's really nothing you can do about it. I just wish I could take the volume down around 40% and let that music come above the game. I get that they don't want it to seem like you're not playing an interactive experience with real-time feedback in the sound. I just think that the balance is a little bit off as far as that's concerned. But the soundtrack is an 11 out of 10. It doesn't get much better than this on the PC Engine in my opinion. As we move further into the game, this is just brutally hard to me. I don't know what it is, but there's no patterns to the bullets. There's things coming all over the screen every single direction. I have always struggled to get better at this game. I have always died, but I've always enjoyed myself while I die. And you'll see here that you have all sorts of different areas that you can pick and different armors as well, giving this again a very Mega Man feeling vibe to it. Pick the right items for the right levels, you get that combination, it's going to be easier for you. Pick the wrong items or the wrong combinations and the wrong level, and suddenly you're going to make the game artificially harder. So there's a lot of mix and match component to it. As we move on to obviously the fire layer, pretty much every world here has some sort of weather theming, whether it's wind, water, fire, or otherwise, and it works within the fantasy setting as well as in the context of the mechanics of the game. But you'll see here as we get further into it, there's just so many different projectiles on screen at once, and I'm just playing this on normal difficulty. If you actually ramp the difficulty up, this becomes an insane challenge, but I know a lot of people out there love that challenge. And tell me down below if you played this game before. I would be curious what your opinion of it is, because I love hearing your feedback in the comments about what you think about individual games. But as you shoot all these fireballs and they have these suicide bullets come out as well, you need to be on your toes the entire time you're playing it. You cannot blink, you cannot look away, you cannot take your hand off the controller to try to scratch your face, which I always feel like I need to do when I play a shmup, and you sure as hell can't look at your phone and answer a text message. This game requires your maximum attention the entire time you're playing it, and looking away for even a second is a guarantee to take damage. But if you take a look at the top right of the screen, you're going to see I have a lot of shields there as well. Buying shields in the item shop with the crystals that you get within the game is going to be crucial. Otherwise, trying to survive an entire level, unless you're absolute perfection from start to finish, is just going to be impossible. But that's the fun in this game, collecting the crystals, powering yourself back up, and being able to understand what the game needs of you. But this area right here with all these fireballs coming out and these fire snakes as well, it can be insanely hard to bypass this unless you have almost maximum shields, because no matter what you do, trying to play perfect here is just going to be really difficult. And just like Magical Chase, the game I've already shown you or will show you soon, this has the same level constriction where you actually have to navigate around the screen space when it's actually closing down upon you, which requires some real precision moving around on the controller to make sure that you're in an area where you are not going to take damage. But that's where a lot of the fun in this game genuinely is. Understanding what you need to do, moving around, reading the patterns on the bullets, and trying to keep yourself safe. But I'm going to give you one more soundtrack sample because I love this snowy area sound as well. 25 seconds this time, and I'll be back and tell you a little bit more about this overall franchise. But enjoy! Again, incredible music, and I chose this game over Gate of Thunder just for the theming. I could have easily put either of these games on this playlist and I think they would have done well, but I just love the fantasy vibe, and it isn't anything that we were getting in any of the other shmups I've been talking about up until this point in time. But definitely check out Gate of Thunder. It's got a completely different vibe visually, but it's got the same great gameplay mechanics, and it was one of the pack-in titles for the TurboGrafx CD in North America. They were pushing the CD format hard with these games, and the soundtrack is there to tell you. But if you've never played this game before, 100% check it out. It is one of the best and most well-known shmups on the PC Engine, and if you have played, leave me a comment down below and tell me what you think. It doesn't matter if I'll ever be able to beat this game well or not. I have fun dying, and that's all that matters. Sure that this video is done, and we'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.